And we're back for the big recap debrief of the launch. So should we dive right in?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. Okay, so the cart's closed, but you were telling me some people have been asking, now with everybody home, can they still get it? And so you've had a couple people buy just on the side through DM, and you've been selling through DM, which is exciting. Why are people wanting to buy now as opposed to like when the cart was open? What are they saying?
I don't know. I think like now, because one of, the little feedback that I got, one was the price. So then I did, the payment plan. I quickly adjusted for a payment plan, which was super helpful. And then the second thing is like time. I had a few people say, well, I work, my job is very demanding. I don't have time. I'm still in school, yada, yada. So the one girl who was still in school, she's like, I'm done for the semester. I was like, okay.
Good
I
timing.
hate to,
Yep.
I hate to laugh about the situation, but it's like you can still thrive in a time like this. Like, you can either be a winner or a loser, and I'm choosing to like be a winner in this, and just use this to my advantage, which I think everyone should do if they can do it, while still being empathetic to what's going on. But anyway, so yeah, time and money are the two things that I'm hearing. So I've tried to adjust those two things as best as I can, and it has proven successful. However, I still like, some people who did want it and were like preaching to me they were going to get it haven't gotten it. So I'm going to like circle back with them personally and be like, hey, now that we're all self-isolating, like, here you go.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's an important point because, like what we're seeing with our clients, some of our clients are still doing really well. On the ad side, ads have gotten cheaper just because some big brands have slowed their spend and so many more people are home and their eyeballs are on social media. There's more ad inventory, so it's been interesting. Medium to long term, I think sales could be affected, but depending on what you're selling and to what audience, you could be selling something that's really impactful for people. Like I have a friend, she has a company in her training program and they sell software that helps yoga studios do online classes, and they're seeing like crazy growth right now because like every yoga studio is scrambling, and so that's like very on the nose as an example, but a lot of people, you can switch your messaging, switch what you're promoting a little bit to find success, and you just want to be careful that your messaging isn't seen or is opportunistic.
Yeah.
One thing you said that I would just give you the kind of default warning
Yeah.
is people who say they'll buy almost never buy. The people, the people who they'll just buy. If people are talking to you saying they'll buy, and so you'll see this more like as you start selling more of this and you get a larger volume of sales. People will be like, could you open back the cart? I didn't get a chance to buy. Could you extend that discount? You'll send them an email being like, I just extended it for you. Here's a special link. And they'll never buy and they'll just go away. So not saying to don't keep selling to them, but also don't like bake in that someone said they'd buy and then they will, or take their advice either. If they're like, I'd buy if it was $100 cheaper, they probably wouldn't. That's usually not why they don't. So
Why is that?
There's a lot of psychology to it on the sales side. A lot of it is they want to give a reason to say no, right? So I think the payment plan is different. The payment plan, you didn't discount the price, but you made it easier to pay, which is different than being like, if someone's like, I just can't afford it if this was $100 cheaper total. Really, for the most part, maybe some people might still buy, but they're looking for a reason to say no, basically. And so I just say that so that you're not necessarily taking all that feedback in and changing things based on people that might never buy. It's better to like talk to the 14 people that are now in your course and program and, ask them, what do they want more of? What resonated with them? What really sold them on it? And then, lean into that the next time you market it.
Yeah.
But one thing I wanted... go ahead.
I was just going to say, the feedback that I've gotten from the people who are in the course has been like incredible. They're like,
Awesome.
This is amazing. They're like, I've spent the one girl was like off the chart. She was like, I've spent thousands of dollars on courses and none of them compare to yours. And I was like, this is what I need. I need like 100,000 more of you to like,
Right.
help me with this. And I think like, I think one of the not problems, but a challenge that I'm having is that I'm the only person selling it and I need more people to speak for me and be like, this is really worth it. Like this is,
Yeah.
and so that's like, it's hard getting people to talk, I think.
So, yeah, and I think what we can do here is I want to do two things on this call, and you can add as much as you want to the agenda, but I think it'd be really good to debrief kind of the launch in its entirety, like what went well. We can recap everything, like what you were selling, what we changed along the way, what we learned, and then maybe build out a plan for you to kind of run with going forward.
Yeah.
And so, if that sounds good to you, is there anything else you wanted to like talk about today?
Well, the only thing is like when I launch, because I have like so I'm in Florida and on the plane ride here, I was like, let me use this like 5 hours on the plane to like see the next step. So I emailed you, I said, I changed the messaging a little bit, like I did a lot of brainstorming and things like that. But the one thing that came up today was, so my plan for the future, like I'm going to roll out other products and services. Some of them are like under $50 and others are like higher than the Blogger Blueprint, which is at $297. So when I'm rolling out these things, like one is a Lightroom preset. Do I follow the same launch strategy that I did for the Blogger Blueprint, or because like my Lightroom preset is going to be like $29 or something? Is that, do I still follow a launch process for that, or do I just kind of like have like a soft launch for that?
I would probably do a soft launch for that. All right, yeah. So let's make sure we cover that because I have some ideas of how to kind of start selling that, and I think how you kind of go forward with the launches in general. I think I have some recommendations on how to shift it a little bit to make it easier on you too.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we can definitely talk about that.
Okay.
But to recap, you made a course brand new, right? No one's ever been in it before, called the Blogger Blueprint. You have an email list of about 1,500, right?
It actually turned out to be about 6,000 when I had multiple lists and I just made them into one master list.
Okay.
So it was 6,000. However, most of those people were not interested. Like I had never, no, I did sell to them, but what I was selling to those lists were completely different and just not related. So I don't think they were interested in a
Right.
course. So I got a lot of unsubscribes from that.
Yeah, and you'll always get unsubscribed, so that's okay. But that's good. So I didn't realize it was 6,000, but 6,000, you had over 40,000 Instagram followers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so those were like our two biggest kind of assets as far as going into this launch. And the Blogger Blueprint. Do you want to kind of a quick recap of what you teach people in that and what they get out of it?
Yeah, sure. So it is a 5-week course. I'm like, my brain, just from talking about it, I'm like, wait, what is it again? And I've been in Florida. So it's a 5-week course that basically teaches bloggers and influencers and honestly, any entrepreneur how to build and grow a business, like turn your blog into a business. We talk about branding, time management, Instagram, social media, brand collaborations, and just like hacks and secrets that will kind of fast track you to that next level in your blogging career.
Awesome.
But that messaging will change.
Yeah, and it always does. Yeah, it always does once you kind of run into feedback and see who's buying and what's working. That'll even in like a launch where you sold more than you thought, you change your message pretty drastically oftentimes based on what you're learning. Okay, and so we went in to the launch. We started working together like 3 weeks before card open, 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think it was like around 2 weeks,
Cool.
2-3 weeks.
Yeah, and you had already done a lot of prep work. I know you'd spent a lot of time leading up to the launch, building the course, building out emails, coming up with your own launch plan, right? So you had a lot of stuff already done. And so my goal was kind of to help you do as much as we could in those final 2 weeks to kind of get some things and extra ideas that we could leverage. And then I don't know if I told you this, but really I was like, once we start seeing what's happening, I can give you some advice based on what I've seen to help you kind of pivot and change. because I thought that's where I could be of the most help at that point. And so that's kind of what happened. We made some estimates. You had some goals you had some sales goals based on. We took a look at total email list, your Instagram follower size. I think we penciled in like a 0.5 to 1% conversion rate from total email list to sales. But the big caveat was we have no prior data of how well this audience converts for you. And we don't know what percentage of the email list is super active, because they hadn't been getting like a ton of emails from you, right?
It was once a month, and then I kicked it up to twice a month.
Right. Yeah, so it wasn't super active, so they weren't hearing from you a lot, and we didn't know what percentage of that email list cared specifically about this content. So that's why there's a lot of caveats that go into that. But now we kind of have a better idea of what the current demand looks like with your audience. And I think when Cart opened, you were kind of, I think, taken aback by how few initial sales came in, right?
Yeah, it was like barely anything, to be honest.
Yeah, and this might be more common than not, but we only hear the stories of people that have like my online shopping cart shutting down because I'm taking in too many sales. PayPal's closing me out because I have too much cash. Like everyone's buying. Like those happen, but it's not as common, and then no one else talks about it when it doesn't meet expectations. And I think what's really impressive is, like, how many sales did you have on day one? If you're not, I don't know if you're comfortable sharing, but
I guess the percent would be like 0.02% or something. It was like really bad.
yeah, it was really low sales on day one. And normally, when you look at a launch and you put it on a graph, you see a big number of sales on day one, and then no matter how long it is, about the equal amount of sales on the final day or two. And so like 90% of your sales are on cart open and cart close, and then throughout the launch they'll trickle in day by day. Sometimes you can kind of get some, like, squish that curve by doing like a webinar in the middle where you're selling it, and that's why people do that kind of launch promotion. But I think what's impressive is you sold a lot more than double the first day's sales. And I think that's a credit to kind of how you adjusted and some of the things you implemented during the launch. Because, like, honestly, like, if you just take day one and day one plus two of a launch and, double it or do a little more than double it, that's pretty much your total expected sales. So the fact that you had such a good, much stronger closing, I think, says a lot about, some of the strategies you took and some of the messaging changes. So a couple of the big things we did, you didn't love it when I suggested it, but you did do it, which I thought was awesome. The Instagram Live every Thursday. And I think you saw good engagement there, right? People were talking and asking questions.
So I have to tell you that the last, like, Thursday I emailed you. I was like, should I still do it? With the Instagram Live. And so I made like it kind of in like a 3 to 4 part series of like mini trainings that I had. And that last one was really terrible. Like, I wasn't feeling it. I was here. I was like in vacation mode, and I was just over the whole thing at that point because I was just, upset with how things turned out. And I was like, okay. It was the shortest that I had, and the least amount of people showed up. So
was that the one you did that when the cart was open, the Thursday before, like the Thursday right before cart open?
No, it was open. It was a day before the close on Friday, and I just like wasn't feeling it. And it was very last minute too. Like, I don't even think I told my followers on Instagram until like an hour before I went live. And, it was rushed. I wasn't super prepared, and it just like was not good, which I think is interesting just to see, like, when you are in a good state and when the energy is flowing, like when you feel good, it is portrayed. And I think good things happen to you, but when you're like not in a good space, it just like really reflects that. And I think that's just what happened.
I have a friend, Megan. She has a course she sells called Intuitive Execution, and it's all about how to be productive, but by kind of listening to, like, not pushing through things, right? So, like, if you want to make 10 YouTube videos in a week and you're just not feeling it, like, most of the time that's how you end up burning out, right? You push through, you burn out. Better to kind of listen to where you are in your headset. Little harder to do during a launch because you've kind of made promises to your audience and everything else. But And so that definitely is why launches can be extra stressful, because like you can't always do that.
Yeah.
I'm curious. So was the big difference, besides like how you felt going into that Instagram live, was it because did you still
Actually,
have a training, or is it just you told people last minute about it?
I told people either the night before or the day of. I think I told them the day of in the morning that there was the training. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, the reason that it was such a flop was because I was late. I was an hour late, and I told people just on Insta stories. I
Uh,
didn't email, so I was completely late. And like, because I'm in Florida with my family, and I'm kind of like, at the mercy of that, just going with the flow. And it just the timing. I thought we'd be back from dinner, and we weren't. So I was like, well, and I told them when I was on the live, I was like, I don't know how this is going to go, but I made a commitment. I'm here. I'm doing it,
yeah.
even though I'm sorry. So, so yeah, I think that was probably a big part of it.
So I think what the key part is like what worked the best with those lives. One was you promoted it ahead of time, so it was it was a scheduled Instagram live. You promoted it ahead of time, right? So you told your audience on Instagram. You emailed them too, didn't you?
I did, yeah, the night before or
Yeah.
the day of, I forget
And
what it was.
you always had a topic to talk about, right? So that you would tell them in advance, like, here's the topic, give them a reason besides like I'm going live. Um,
Right.
and I think that worked really well. And I think one of the ones that I was most excited about was the one where people got excited about your kind of flash Instagram audits, right? Where you'd audit them live, and then they were so excited. People emailed you, DM'd you, being like, "I'd love you to do one," and you brought people on live, shared a screen with them on the live, which I love because I think that, and you notice this too, it increases engagement. It's much more engaging to watch two people. Like I don't know how engaging people find our launch convos here, but I guarantee you it's much more engaging than like just me talking about launches.
Yes.
So I think that's one factor. The second is it's social proof, right? They see people coming on. They're like, oh, you're not a crazy person just shouting into nothing about this. Like people want to talk to you, and they see your advice in action. So I think that has a lot of power. So I would, if it's something that felt okay for you to do, and once you got used to doing those Instagram lives again, because I know you used to, you think you could do it.
Yeah.
I might suggest you leverage that and try and do that. Do a set one once a week, once every 2 weeks, so people get used to the schedule. But then also go live. You can go live randomly, or be like 2 days in advance. Email your list and be like, I'm going to do a quick live, talk about this. And I would challenge you to try some where you don't have to prepare as much. Did you have to prepare at all for the audits, or did you just dive right into the audit session?
I did prepare a little bit for the audits. I actually kind of prepared a lot. I wanted to do it because I wasn't just going to be like, okay, I'm going to Instagram audit, because if people said, if no
Right.
one responded, I would be screwed. So I made sure, I had the list of people who came in, first priority. And then I wrote notes for each of them. And it actually worked out because one person didn't raise their hand. They weren't in the live. So then I moved on to the next person. So thank God I did have that
Yeah.
list. To your point about going live regularly, that was something that I was thinking about doing, especially with being locked at home. Like this is the perfect opportunity to, create
Yep.
this content and just bring more people on. And I was thinking of influencer friends that I could have on as guests and maybe do a Q&A or something like that, or a training with them.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, a lot of people are home too, just looking for content and distraction. So I definitely think that's a great idea. Yeah, and I think preparing the way you did for that was great. Like being prepared in case people weren't there or who was up next. I'm thinking more like writing scripts if you're giving a training, because I think what will take some of the pressure off is you can pick topics that you can just kind of talk freely about, where it's like, here's 5 bullet points. Each week I'm going to talk about one bullet point for 5-10 minutes, then answer some questions, and that way it takes a lot of the stress off of you of creating the content for it.
What do you mean writing scripts?
Well, I know for the first one, you kind of prepared by mapping things out, didn't you? Because I remember when we talked.
Yeah, I had notes on my computer. Yeah, so I did have notes that I would glance to and look to. So is that what you mean? Just do more of that?
Less of that. So
I see. Okay.
because what I'm looking at is taking the pressure off of you, so that the lives don't become another piece of, because I know you make a lot of content, and you know, having another piece of content that's a thing you have to make. So I would try and do something where, like, if you made a YouTube video that week and you think that YouTube video is content that would be interesting, go live and just, you don't have to mention the YouTube video, but you can just rehash that topic, because different people are on Instagram, they haven't watched a YouTube video yet. You know, if you wrote a blog post, just talk about that content on the Instagram live. So you don't have to, like, you know, it doesn't have to, because it's a very casual channel. So I think that would be helpful. You know, and if like once a month you made a more formal presentation or something, but I want to take some of that pressure off.
Yeah. When you say that, because before, when I was going live regularly, I would have a blog post study group every Tuesday, because that's when my blog posts would go live. And that's exactly what we would do. Just like recap what I posted on the blog, kind of like a study group, and people could ask questions and we could talk about it. So yeah, so I love that. I'm going to write that down right now.
Yeah, you could do that with all your other content and have live kind of be where you like repeat it. It doesn't even have to be like saying like, look at this blog post. You could just share it like it's brand new information, right? Like, oh, here's something I'm currently thinking about. But yeah, so I love the lives. I think it would do really well for you, because if you want to, you mentioned you might open the cart up again and do another promotion because people have been asking, but you could also just keep going live and selling via DM. A lot of people do well with that strategy, especially like if you can keep increasing your engagement. You know, because if you just keep talking about topics related to what the Blogger Blueprint's about, right? And then you just mention the Blogger Blueprint every now and then, not even as a sales tactic, but just, you know, like in the Blogger Blueprint, we talk about this a lot, but here's one thing you could try. And then people might DM you, what is that? How could I get access? So I think that would be a good channel for you.
So would you recommend opening the cart, like with this happening and with so many people? Like, I think this could, like, I've literally gotten DMs saying this could help so many people. And I've reposted those DMs, like screenshotted them and posted them on my story so people know it's not just me saying this. So do you think I should like open the cart for maybe 48 hours? And then I was going to donate a % of those proceeds to like victims of Corona to help, you know, fight the virus in some way?
I think the reason I would hesitate is those people saying it, are they going to be buying it?
They already bought it, actually.
They're already in. So, like, I think it's a good idea, because there are probably a lot of people that have more time and can invest in this. What I worry about is I don't know if your email list are those people. There might be some people, because someone did buy and DM you, right? Like, now I have more time, but I don't know. Like your email list, I think they would reach out. Like, if you were going to do it again, maybe you send one email and be like, I've heard from some people that because they have more time now, they want to join the Blogger Blueprint and dive into this. So I'm opening it up for 2 days. Maybe just do one email, because we just did a pretty aggressive promotion to the list.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. So then with that said, how moving forward, how do I treat my email list? Like, do I just do regular content, like kind of recycle content from my blog and stuff, and just do that weekly to them? Like, how do I keep them warm and active?
Yeah, so that's part of kind of the going forward marketing plan. So let's come back to that, because we'll just finish this launch debrief. And then I think one of the big shifts in the launch is the first thing we did, we kind of looked at messaging, right? To be like, could we adjust the message mid-launch, change some of these emails? I think you might have tweaked 1 or 2 emails, but I think ultimately you decided against like refocusing it, because you talked to people. I had concern that people thinking of, it got dark outside, huh?
Yeah, I'm trying to
still good.
fix the lighting.
You're still good.
Okay.
It's always hard when there's like glass. That was a good idea. Like, I have concern. I still have some concern, because and this is me personally and some of the people I know, I think of blogger and influencer is very different. But from what people you've talked to and the people you know, it's interchangeable, right?
I did research like with my competitors, and they use the word like interchangeably. And I kind of want to reach out to them and be like, hey, is there a reason you're doing this? Because some of the stuff they sell is like, it's called Blogger XYZ. And then the other thing that they sell is called Influencer XYZ. So I'm like wondering if they do that as kind of like an A/B test, you know, to see which verbiage performs better.
They might do, because like the way I've always looked at it is a blogger might be an influencer, but an influencer is not a blogger. It's like a square is a rectangle is not a square, right? And so, because if I am an influencer and I don't have a blog, I'm not buying a course called the Blogger Blueprint. But if I'm a blogger and I want to be an influencer, I would buy the Blogger Blueprint, but I might also buy the Influencer Blueprint because I want to, grow my brand. So that's where I'm coming from. I think ultimately, based on what you talked to, and you didn't change that, which is fine, but I still am throwing it out there as something to think about. Just because based on like what's in your course, blogging is only an aspect of it. It's really like a comprehensive plan and strategy around being an influencer, growing your blog, growing your Instagram, collaborating. So that's just something to think about. And so I bring it up because during the launch, that is something you can do during a launch to be like, how are people reacting to what I'm saying in email, on social, based on their comments and the people who've bought already and what they're saying, like, am I missing the mark on my messaging? Should I change my emails because the problems people have that they're telling me about don't seem to be what I'm addressing here? That is something you can do in a launch if it's not going as well. But the other thing you can do is you had heard from some people that the full-time pay for the full course price wasn't something they were interested in, and so you introduced a payment plan, right? Was it 2 months or 3 months? How long was the payment plan?
It was so like quick that it's literally one person was like, it's interesting because I do kind of agree with you in that I think some people like BS you on the price because this one person was like, the price is too much. So then she paid for half and she's like, you know what? I'm just going to pay for the other half tomorrow. And I'm like, then why am I even doing this for you? Yeah. So, and I actually, a lot of people do that. So some of them are like, one person had a legit payment plan where it was this month and then she won't be able to pay till April. But the other people are like, oh, just in 2 weeks, so their next paycheck. So I guess that's legit, but most is like a 2-week payment plan because I think $297 is such an affordable, reasonable price point that like it's not enough. It's not enough where you're like, let's make this 4 months or two. Like it's like when you get your next check.
Yeah, and I think what might have happened if people are saying like they'll pay the second payment pretty quickly, like sometimes it just helps to have that human element that like they see you are meeting them where they are and they're like, oh, okay, like, you're helping out. But I think it really helped the sales because then we started to see the sales get a lot more traction and you closed a lot stronger than we started. And so that's something to think about for next time. Is either start with a payment plan or maybe introduce the payment plan halfway through. And so because it definitely seemed to be a big winner for this. Okay, cool. And then the cart closed. Did you see sales coming in on the final day?
I did. I saw more than the first day honestly was the worst day, and which I was, please God, don't let this be like the, telling sign of what it's going to be for the rest of the time. Thank God it wasn't because we were able to quickly adjust. But the last day was okay. It was definitely better than the first day, but it wasn't like amazing. I think probably the day before, like the Wednesday, Thursday were really good. Were probably the strongest days, and that's when I was really pushing the payment plan.
Yeah, I like that you did that, and so I would definitely remember that for next time. And based on this experience with the launch, my next advice would be to really try and, because like the best thing you can do when you're launching a new course is you kind of do a beta launch where you just get enough people in that they can be your advisors, right? And so they'll tell you what questions they have that aren't in the course, what's confusing, what they love, what they don't like. You really leverage those people, like talk to them, get feedback, improve the course internally, but also use everything they say in your marketing, both as testimonials, like you talked about, having other people sell for you. So try and get some people on a video testimonial. You could try a couple of varieties. You could do a call where it's like split screen like this. Record it, ask them questions. How are they using it? What's worked well? What they like? Have people just do it themselves. Also then, get some written testimonials, but also just talk to people and get the language they're using. Both about like the stresses, the pain points of why they bought the course, like what they're struggling with, and like what's working well or what their goals are. Because all of those things, if you incorporate that into your marketing, will be much more authentic and be interpreted as like you actually are really understanding where they're coming from. Because we all have our own biases. Like when we make a program or a course, you're like, here's who it's for, here's why it's great. And then we do our marketing for it. And then you talk to people and you're like, this person joined for none of the reasons I talked about. Like, like this is not why I thought people would join, but like multiple people are now saying this one thing. Like I should really, maybe everyone you talk to is using the word influencer, not blogger. So maybe you do change it to influencer, or maybe they all use blogger, and then you're like, oh no, blogger's right. So that kind of thing is really important when you do. And I would encourage you to think of this as like your beta launch. You got people in, you can learn from them, and now you can really focus on growing the list to be full of people that will buy next time.
How should I reach out to these people? Should I put them on an email list, or should I reach out to them individually via email? Should I DM them? How should I make that?
I would reach out individually and via email. Be like one-on-one email, like personal email. Because if they bought, they'll be much more likely to respond to you. So it's not like coming out of the blue, like they paid for something. They'd like love to hear from you. You could put them on an email list. I wouldn't email them from it yet, but it's good to have a buyer list of specific products. So you can email them updates and things, any changes, or, if you're selling something else, you can email them directly. But yeah, I would email them one-on-one and try DMing them too. So you could email them one-on-one and then DM them being like, I sent you an email, would love to hear your thoughts, just to make sure they saw it. And I would try and get on a call with as many of them as you can. It takes some time, but it's really valuable research, basically, to understand why they bought, what problems they had, what they hope will be solved, what their goals are. Oftentimes, that alone will give you the next product idea. But at the very least, it'll inform a lot of your marketing for the next promotion.
Do you think me getting on a call with them, asking them these questions, will make them realize, will make them think well, I guess the blogger blueprint really wasn't what I needed at all? Will it make them resent the fact they bought the blogger blueprint?
No, because most people. Well, what kind of questions are you thinking of asking them that would cause them to?
Well, if I'm like, what were you expecting, or what would you like to see added to the blogger blueprint? I don't want to highlight what's not in there. I want to focus on what is in there, but also know well, what would they want in there, or what more, if they could add something to it, what would it be? That could be.
I'm not going to guarantee you. One person might be like, oh, these are some good points, I want a refund, but for the most part, people they're thinking it anyway. So you asking it is not, if anything, because you gave them lifetime access, right, to any changes. So it's I'm always looking to improve this. I'd love your feedback on what should be added on the next round of improvements. They were going to ask for a refund anyway if that's what causes them to ask for a refund. And most of the time, if they were asking for a refund, they appreciate you reaching out, and now they feel like you're making it even better. So they're like, oh, that thing that doesn't help me at all and I wanted a refund for, it's going to be fixed, and all the other stuff's pretty good, so now I'll stay in. So I think it can actually help you retain people.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and that research is going to be the biggest. And now, kind of moving on to the marketing part, that research is going to be the biggest thing you can do too, both with any new products you make, and also as you continue to sell this, trying to talk to as many people as possible to get their feedback in your audience is going to give you your next product idea and validate it much faster than creating a product blind and then launching without having feedback on the marketing. So you mentioned you have a couple ideas for next products, right?
Yeah, well, it's just some of them are I want to do a group coaching, because if this is too unaffordable for some people, I want to do a group coaching, which is a monthly thing, and then I want to do a library, because we didn't publish this, but I was so upset and emotional during, I was disappointed with how things started off with the launch, that I was screw that, I'm making everything paid. You will not access my free content, because I pump out and I work my ass off. so hard for all this free content for people that I hope is content marketing for my paid products, but maybe I'm like giving too much. So the other thing I wanted to do was like an all access pass or something, which would be like $9.99 a month. So some of them are like subscriptions, and some are like smaller, guides or courses or things like that. So I have like a whole plan for like the rest of the year. But I don't know which one to start with, how to go about it, and if every launch should be the same as this launch, which you already said no to.
Yeah. So I think with the product side, I think it's really good to come up with those ideas, but then put them out there start talking to people and listen to what they're saying, what they need. And then if you're like, I really love this idea for this like smaller price, $29 product, start kind of pitching it to people as like, hey, does this sound like something that would be really valuable? I want to make it the best I can. I'd love your feedback, and start hearing what they're saying and getting feedback. Cause you might hear people be like, that doesn't really sound like something I want, and then what they say they want is actually what you were going to give them anyway, but like that wasn't how you positioned it. Or maybe they tell you, multiple people are saying something that you hadn't thought about. It will save you a lot of time trying to validate this in advance before you do the full promotion of it. And there's actually a strategy where people will pre-sell this kind of thing. So like if you lock it in, you've done your research, you have a smaller price, $29 product, go out, DM people, email people, be like, hey, I'm making this. You can buy it now for like 50% off, and you'll get lifetime access. For the first, I'm only letting 10 people in to start, and just see if 10 people buy it. Because if nobody buys it, they're not going to buy it when it's like launched at a higher price. And so then you haven't even made it yet, but you get to validate the idea. And if like 3 people buy and not the minimum you needed, you just refund them and say, sorry, like there's not enough demand for this.
What should be like my next product rollout? Because I have the Lightroom preset, I have the group coaching, and then I have like this other product that's actually more expensive than this. It's called a pitch pack, which is like all about pitching brands, which is huge. Like that's what that everyone wants to know how to make money and work with brands and collaborations, like all influencers anyway. So like I was planning on rolling that out, and I did talk about this pitch pack in the Blogger Blueprint as kind of like, just to get people familiar with it. So
yeah.
How do I know which one to go for next?
So the goal here is we're not going to aim for like a massive launch out of the gate. We just want to I'll keep saying validate. We want to validate that like this is something that people want, or at least people that follow you want. Because if your audience doesn't want it, it doesn't mean it's not a good product, but then you're going to have to work hard to like find that audience and get them on your list, right? And that's kind of what we think might have happened with Blogger Blueprint is you just had a 6,000 person list, 40,000 person audience, but only a chunk of those people were actually like a good fit for the Blogger Blueprint. Doesn't mean a lot of people won't buy it. It just means we have to go find those people. So for some of these offers, like you mentioned, multiple things, like which one do you pick? I'm
saying I would do it tomorrow. Like I'd probably do it quarterly. Do it like maybe next quarter or something.
Yeah. So let's talk, because I think this will fill into your marketing as well. What I would recommend is before I start this, like how much content do you put out? Because you do a YouTube video a week.
YouTube video a week, blog post a week, newsletter every other week, TikTok like 3 times a week, Instagram 3 to 4 times a week, Insta stories every day, and then I know I'm at Pinterest every week. I think that's it.
Okay, and how long have you been doing that?
Since 2020, so I guess since January.
Okay, so you weren't doing that much before then, like that level.
I was doing a lot. It wasn't consistent. Like I've been doing my YouTube series since like 2017 or 2016, but I was like, I have to get like consistent.
Yeah, so I think because you're only one person, I would try and focus on a couple channels to be like, I'm going to go all in on these. And not quit the other ones, but be like give yourself a little bit of a break. And then have the goal be to get email leads. to either grow awareness, like with eyeballs, grow your Instagram account to get eyeballs, and then get them on your email list, or just get people on your email list directly. And so, maybe that means you shift to doing a blog post once a month and take 3 off your plate. Because honestly, like, blog posts are great for SEO and for longer term, but as far like short term, you post a blog post, no one sees it for a while. It takes time to get in the search engines. You got to work hard to promote it. So I would write one blog post a month or something like that, and then spend the other 3 weeks promoting that blog post if you think it's good, and put some kind of lead magnet on there so people can opt in when they read the blog post.
I was even thinking, like, that's kind of why I wanted to roll out like that, like, password protected or subscription program for my blog for like $9.99 a month. You have access to all these different business branding, social media blog posts, but I would still have free blog posts in there, and then really focus on my email list. Like, if you want, to be on my VIP list for all the free business content, like, here you go. Or if you prefer the blog, if you like that, then it's $9.99 a month. And just like,
so you have blog posts that are like on a certain topic, and you would have those be kind of behind a paywall?
Yeah, I mean, anything related to business. Like, I had a TikTok thing that was like huge, and then I had another thing about doing giveaways that was for Instagram, which was huge. I have so many things for Instagram. Like, all my highest traffic posts are related to business. It's basically everything that's in the Blogger Blueprint, but it's just free.
I would do the opposite. If those are your highest traffic blog posts, I would make sure those stay free forever, because that's going to be your marketing. That's your free Google marketing. You're getting people in the door there, and I think more than like a paywall, people just don't pay for blog posts. They pay for guides, PDFs. Like, people are getting more used to paying for newsletters, but you got to really be in demand with your audience to like have people pay for like that kind of content. If your highest traffic blog posts are those business ones, I would work on getting opt-in offers that are a really good fit for what you're selling or going to be selling on there. So like for the Instagram one, the opt-in could be some kind of guide or checklist or something. And I think you have a couple already made.
I have 2 of them. So then I would just have to go in and add those banners down, because I don't have like a system that has a pop-up or anything like that. I could do that, but that's just like another monthly expense that I didn't really want to do.
Yeah.
So
I would put something right at the top, something in the middle, something at the bottom, maybe just a button, right? And then it lets you opt in. Like, how much traffic do some of those posts get?
I mean, the last one was like 7,000 something was one of them.
In a month?
But I think so. I'm trying to think. I mean, the last time I've like looked at actual posts was a while ago, but I just remember I had a huge spike when I published this one post about cheating your way on Instagram, like buying followers, doing these things. That was like huge. And I think that was like 7,000 to 10,000. Like, I had hits on that. I really don't. I'm like not great with Google, like SEO. That's really not my fault.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I would look now, see if it's like sustained some level of traffic. But I would suggest, if you have blog posts that get some meaningful traffic, if you put a good lead magnet opt-in on those pages and it's very noticeable and it fits what the people are coming for the blog post and it makes sense for the business, you should see like 1 to 5% conversion rates on that. So if you got 7,000 people a month, you'd get 70 to 140 to opt into your email list, and they were interested in blogging. You gave them an opt-in about blogging, so they'd be ideal for the Blogger Blueprint. So I would say your goal is to, number one, you might want to trim your email list. So I think in MailChimp, you might not be able to do this because you had a lot of separate email lists that you've combined, so you don't have a lot of data on it. But what you could do is, send out an email a week for like, just content. And after 4 or 5 weeks, take a look. Whoever hasn't opened like not one of those 4 or 5 emails, put them in a new list called like, the clean list, the getting rid of them list, and then send those people like 3 emails over 1 week where it's like, hey, looks like you haven't opened anything. I think I'm going to remove you unless you open this. send them emails, and then get rid of them. That'll save you some money with MailChimp. And also then your email list will be a little cleaner and give you an audience that's more in line with like what you're offering.
So then, so you think I should like cut back on the blog post once a month and then promote those like consistently, like throughout the week or whatever, and then like really go hard on my email list, like with
because if the blog posts are getting traffic already, leverage, and then I would say the email list, keep that fresh. Because that's going to be your best sales tool.
Do it like once a week in a newsletter or some kind of content.
I mean, you're doing a YouTube video once a week. You could email people just a YouTube video with like maybe 2 paragraphs about the content, and that might be enough. So it's not even, again, it's trying to leverage what you're already doing with content, so you're not going crazy making even more.
Like email the list once a week, I would definitely recycle content. Like I would take old blog posts or like a topic and just repurpose it in some way and throw it in an email. So like I don't think it would take me that long, but
no. And what people will do too is you start doing this and then you build out an automation email funnel where it's all these new broadcasts put into the evergreen funnel so that anybody new to your list gets those emails that you think are your best emails. So like you start sending these out as broadcasts, and then you could do an automation funnel so that anybody new to your list gets emails automatically from you with this content once a week. So then you don't have to, they're going to get the good stuff too and not miss out.
Okay, so kind of like, I mean, in MailChimp, I think it's called an onboarding series, like where it's just like a cyclical thing and it just like it just continues to go. Okay, I see.
I think they call them. I can't remember what they call because there's a bunch of different ones you can choose. But yeah, the idea is as soon as someone opts in, you can set it to be whatever tempo you want. Maybe the first 2 or 3 emails are like once every 2 days, and it's like about who you are. Like, hey, I'm Brittany. Here's what I'm about. Here's who I help. Okay. Here's how I help. And then they start getting like regular automated emails that are just the best content you have. Just so they're like, wow, this is amazing. She's so helpful. And keeps
the best content I have on my blog and my YouTube, or the best content I have via email, like the emails that I've sent that have been opened the most or something like that.
I would do both. Like whatever your best content is, email them about it. So if it's a YouTube video, write a little bit about it, but then be like, this is one of my most popular YouTube videos all about X. It's really important if you want to do this or this. Here's like a takeaway, and then make sure you watch the whole thing, right? And you like those would be really easy ones to make. And I would say for the most part, anybody you follow that has a large audience, if you join their email list and you start getting emails from them, they're all automated. Unless the email's like topical and you can tell it was written in the last like week, it's probably automated and older. But this is how you can like nurture people without going crazy, right?
So then how many should I have in the welcome sequence or in this onboarding or this?
You can go crazy. I mean, so the way I think about it is you'll have a welcome sequence, which maybe is like 3 to 5 emails, like introducing who you are, maybe asking them a question, like hit reply. I'd love to hear what your biggest problem is. That's always a classic. Maybe a couple more pieces that fit, like welcoming them in and making them know what you're about. And then you could move them into another sequence or just add this to the end of that current sequence. But you could do like 30 emails, and then they have 30 weeks of emails from you. And so you can either stop them from getting your broadcast until they finish, or maybe they just get 2 emails from you until they get the one you put out on the broadcast, and then they get the one evergreen. So they get 2 emails a week from you until they finish.
Can you clarify broadcast and evergreen? Like when those are, I think those terms are a little above my.
So a broadcast email is like you go into your email system, you type it up, you hit send, and it goes out. An automated or evergreen email is like you set up an automation sequence, so it's evergreen, so it's on all the time. Someone goes through it, you never have to touch it. So that's why, and that's like an evergreen webinar versus a launch webinar. An evergreen webinar is like it's always there. People can sign up whenever. They get all the emails whenever. You never had to hit push broadcast or schedule it. Schedule it's also a broadcast. But if it's in an automation sequence, like they get this email 1 week after this last email, that's an automation. That's evergreen. Does that make sense?
Yes, that would be so helpful if I could just do that for the whole year.
Yeah. And you could do it. I mean, you could put your entire email list into that sequence right now. So like what you would do then is probably have two sequences. You'd have one where it's like anybody who's currently on your list, you put them into this new sequence of maybe like, 20 emails, like 10 of your best emails based on open rate. I mean, they've gotten some of those, so I don't know if you want to send them again, but maybe you sent them a long time ago. Maybe you add some where you're sharing YouTube videos or anything else. And then you make the other sequence for brand new people who opt in. So it would have all those emails, but then maybe also have like a welcome sequence.
Yeah, that's kind of, I definitely have a welcome sequence. I have like a 3 email sequence for when people opt into my freebies or my opt-in offers. I do have that. But then after that, I don't have anything else for that. So that's definitely something to explore.
Yeah, and there's a lot of tutorials on how to set this up with like MailChimp. So you should be able to figure it out and start simply. Don't like just put a couple in, see how it goes. And once you get used to it, you can set it up so it's like a ton of emails going out on a scheduled basis. But yeah, the big shift I would suggest for you is instead of thinking about content, because you're great on creating content, I would think about growing the email list. So less content, more marketing of that content, and have everything be with the idea of getting people to join the list and then keeping them really engaged. And so like you talk, like in your blogger blueprint, you talk about collaborations, right? Collaborations are great for this. I think I threw it out there in the launch, but you could, if someone who has a good sized list and a good Instagram following has an opt-in, you two could just trade opt-ins. Be like, I'll promote it on my list, you promote it to your list, and you just promote it to your. You'll promote their opt-in to your list, and they'll do the same for you. A lot of times people will do it just to be reciprocal and friendly. Sometimes people will do it if there's like a product they want some affiliate sales from it, but I wouldn't worry about that now. But yeah, everything you do should be with growing the list and growing it with the ideal people who are like you're going to be selling them products.
Right. Now, like with the people, I'm trying to think of like, because you did mention that last time about the trade and opt-in offer or like collaboration. And I was thinking like, who has a list? Literally like if I were to make a new product, it should be about why you need a list. But like no influencers or bloggers think they need one. Like none of them have them.
Yeah.
So like I would have to collaborate with like, your one client that we talked about, which is the person that connected us. Like I would have to collaborate with her, but then I'm like, would she even want to do that? Because would she think that takes away from her?
Yeah. You want to find people that are like where you are with list size or, a little higher. People who are a lot higher are going to want at least like some kind of like reciprocal sales or something because it's lopsided. Like they would drive a lot more leads to your list than you would to theirs. Maybe though you could negotiate something where it's like, hey, I'll email my list and post on my Instagram and do a story. Could you just do like 2 stories over 2 days about my opt-in? Like they do less, but have it be, more, right? So you could try that. But I think you'll be able to find people that have lists, in the 3,000 to 7,000 person range and willing to trade. And honestly, someone with a smaller list, but that's very active and is like all about what your goal is for an audience. Like if you can find someone that has like a 2,000 person email list, but all they do is talk about how to be an influencer and a better blogger, and it's like really active and an engaged community, that's going to be a better list than the 20,000 person list who just talks about generic marketing tactics, and is not as engaged. So that's one idea to do those kind of reciprocal trades. There's a lot of other ways you can collaborate though to try and do that. But I think that would be a pretty good way for you to move forward. And like similarly, you mentioned, what's the lower priced offer you were talking about? The $29 offer?
There's like, I have, a Lightroom preset that I was going to push and then highlight like Instagram highlight covers, which would be like $4.99 or something stupid like that. That is not even worth a promotion, but maybe just like I could put at the bottom of my emails, like, hey, if you're looking to spruce up your Instagram, like check out my highlight covers or something like that.
Yeah. And a really good thing you could do that grows your list and might generate revenue would be, so is it the presets you're going to sell?
Yeah, I'm going to sell 3 Lightroom presets, and then Instagram highlight covers, but separately, like not, you know.
Right. So what you could do is maybe give away one Lightroom preset as an opt-in, right? Or maybe it's like a checklist or a template on how to make your own preset. And then on the thank you, have we talked about tripwires? Do you know what tripwire funnels are?
Yep.
So this would be, and then the thank you page is like, hey, check your email, but like, hang on one second. You can also grab these 3 presets already made for you. You know, normally they're $29. You can get them for $19 if you get it right now. So number one, people will opt in. You'll get the email lead, and then depending on how well this fits your audience and the opt-in offer, you might get some good revenue from it too. And you just got people that are looking for that preset. So then maybe you could sell them more presets, or maybe then they want the Blogger Blueprint because if they're getting presets, they're trying to make their Instagram and blog posts look better. So that would be a really good fit. And so again, I would just focus on that. Like, put that in your Instagram profile, talk about it, share the link, talk to other people. Do anything you can to hustle more people to see that opt-in offer, because they'll start getting sales from it. You can start getting sales from it.
Yeah. I think the Lightroom preset would be a good tripwire for like the 2 Instagram freebies that I have. I have an Instagram growth guide, and then I have an Instagram captions. I mean, the captions would be amazing. It's like, okay, now you know what to write to them, but like, let's beautify your profile here,
Yeah. So I really like that. And that would be my biggest thing, would be like, if you're going to come up with that product, get people on your email list who want it. So like, have that opt-in offer be really clear, give it to them right away, especially those lower priced offers. I wouldn't worry about a launch with that.
Right.
You could promote it to your whole list over like a day or two, but it doesn't have to be a huge promotion. And then like what people work towards then is you could build an evergreen automated sales funnel, whether it's like, get this preset checklist download of how to make your own preset. Tripwire, people can buy their own presets, so you make some money there. And then maybe they go into like a 20-day email sequence where they get some welcome emails from you, and then they start getting the sales emails dripped out to them every 2 days or whatever, right? And it's like, hey, for a limited time, you can buy this, the cart closes, and it'll close for them, right? And so then you're not even doing a launch, you're just giving them the launch on their timetable. And so especially when your list is smaller and not as active, this is a good way to test messaging and what people want, because you can just watch how they act as they go through all those emails in the sales funnel.
Okay.
How does that feel?
A little overwhelming, I'm not gonna lie, because email marketing is like something that I never paid attention to, but like after this, it's like, okay, that's like really where I should be, like what I should be paying attention to. Like, I was always like content, which is fine, but I have so much great content. Like, I love the idea of cutting back once a week, once a month to the blog post, and then just really focusing, like getting my email list set up in a way that it is nurtured without me having to do anything to it.
Yeah, and it's really powerful, because a blog like really good blogs can be awesome, like especially for long-term SEO and traffic, but they just typically usually don't see a huge uptick right away. Maybe one goes viral, but for the most part, if we can get people on your email list, and they're on your email list for a very aligned reason with your product offers, you're going to see a huge, like, that's where those 1% conversion rates come in, right? Where it's like 1,000 people opted in for this topic related to blogging and influencing. 1 to 3% will buy this course because I know that's what they need. So that's the goal. And start small. Like, I kind of gave you what a lot of our clients are doing, but some of them have teams, some of them have been doing this a while. Start small, do an opt-in offer to a tripwire, and then maybe just have 2 or 3 email welcome sequence, right? And then start adding on more automated emails to nurture them. And then you can experiment with some of those evergreen sales tactics.
Okay.
Yeah, but take steps of this. Don't do everything at once.
I probably will. I'll email you next week. Like, hey, I did everything. Are we good now?
Because I'll say what you don't want to happen is you spend a month building out a 50 email, 30 week email sequence, and then you go to turn it on and it's not set up correctly, and then you have to like redo it all because like you had to, so like you're better off starting small, making sure it's working, and then adding to it. So that's my recommendation. Do you have any other questions or things you wanted to talk about?
I feel like we had something and we were going to circle back to it, but I guess
It was the
maybe
marketing. You wanted to talk about the marketing and the other products, and so
right.
I think we covered that. That was
Um,
I made sure to touch back on that.
yeah. So then, like, I have other freebies or like, so I have two freebies that in my head, are related to the Blogger Blueprint. So I could sell it to them. That would be a good fit. And then I have two freebies that are related to the higher level product that I haven't even launched yet, which would be the pitch pack. So then with that, like with those other freebies, I don't really have like a tripwire for those things because they're related to like pitching and brand collaborations and things
Yeah,
like
you don't
that.
have to. You don't have to have a tripwire. It's just the tripwire gives you a little more confidence that those people are buyers. But like if you have an opt-in that you think is really close to the pitch pack, that's much better than nothing. And so then you could really promote that heavily, get those people on your list. And just kind of think of like it'd be like every 100 people that comes in for this opt-in that's closely aligned, that's one more sale. Hopefully, that's the goal.
Yeah.
And so that's the way to think about that.
And then how would you like if I just have those two products, like my two big ones would be the Blogger Blueprint and the Pitch Pack, how would you kind of like alternate launching those or like releasing those? Because so the Blogger Blueprint
Yeah.
was in March, and then would you do the Pitch Pack in like
Yeah,
June?
you could do one launch a quarter and alternate promotions. The goal is if you kind of get a email list growth engine going, every 3 months your list should be growing a good amount. So all those new people, it'll all be new to those people. And then your existing audience, they'll know what's coming, but they might not have been ready before, and now they are, so they'll buy too. So that's why it's important just to keep that list going.
And
And
it's
that's
like
honestly where ads become really helpful. Is if you have a tripwire where you're like, I know that like every 5 people that opt in, one person buys. You can then run ads and be like, I know I'll break even on my ad spend, and I can spend a lot and grow my list, and then launch to it. So that's like why tripwires can be really valuable.
so my question then would be because I didn't hit the sales that I thought I would with the Blogger Blueprint, I'm not able to like put a lot of spend or budget into ads. So, but you're saying it is totally possible to grow my list to like 10,000 without ads.
Yeah, you don't even have to. You could grow at 1,000 without ads, but if you have tripwires and you can be like, people are buying this thing, you could start, even just boosting the opt-in offer and just seeing if people will buy from the boost and get some numbers. Um, Yeah, I would. I mean, I know people that have grown their list to 20,000 without ever doing an ad, and at the time they did partner webinars where they would do a webinar to someone else's audience, that person would do a webinar to theirs, and they would each sell on the webinar. But the promoting the webinar got them, 800 emails from that person, and they sold their course on the webinar. And so you don't have to do a webinar, but there's lots of ways you can grow your list organically, but I think the key is being intentional about it. So it's like everything you do, if you're going to partner with someone, it's to grow the list. If you're going to promote something on your organic channels, it's to promote the list. So I would just always be focused on that.
Okay.
Cool. All right, Brittany, good luck. Keep us keep us posted on what you've tried and what's working.
I will. You've been my lifeline in all of this, and I'm like, I don't want it to end. Like, I want to, I need it for, I want to like adopt you.
You can keep emailing, and I thought it was awesome how you kind of kept selling, and you definitely did a lot more sales than I think we both expected based on day one. So that was awesome.
Yeah. Oh,
Cool.
good.
All right, well
Well,
keep growing that email list.
I will. Thank you.
All right, see ya.
Bye.